Can't wait. Well, no more waiting. Amanda, it's your lucky day. Today I am with Amanda McGrew, founder of the Playoff dating app, also a PE teacher and basketball coach. So we appreciate you shaping our youth. I thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to do it. I love it.
Yes, we need more great people like you. Teachers don't get paid enough, so hopefully it's my little plug there. But
I love it.
Amanda, thank you so much for joining me. As I said, founder of the Playoff Dating app. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation. Probably haven't had one quite like this yet, which makes it a little bit more fun. But the first question I gotta ask is, Amanda, why do you love sports?
I love sports because I think sports is a microcosm of life. I think it is, it defines so much about what I do. It helped me, growing up. It helped me become a team player. It helped me become a leader. It helped me figure out how to take direction. It helped me, find my strengths and my weaknesses and improve my strengths and work on my weaknesses and all the things that I want to do in life and be good at in life. Sports was kind of a microcosm for that and kind of helped me figure out, navigate my way a little bit. I can't rave about sports enough.
You and me both, believe me, and that's why I started to do this. I thought it would be a fun little project, and so far, so good. Yeah, I mean, it's you make a lot of great points. I mean, the fact that you learn so much, and then you learn to learn more, right? Like you learn
Right.
to learn. I think learning to learn is
That's
an
huge.
extremely, it's a huge thing that not a lot of people,
Right.
especially, you can go through school and you don't really learn to learn. You're taught to memorize, right? You're
Right.
you're
Right.
taught to say,
Repetition.
yeah,
Right.
repetition, sit down, make sure you're, stay in the box that they say. But when it comes to
Absolutely.
sports, you get the opportunity to get out of that box and figure
Right.
yourself out, especially at a young age. Have some fun, go out there, kick a soccer ball around, throw a basketball into a hoop, do some of these weird, crazy things. And yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. So you
Yeah.
grew up playing a lot of basketball, played in college as well. But I mean, what was it about basketball? I know you're a little taller than me, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm super short, so I can't really say that says too much. But just kind of curious.
Yeah. Well, I will say I always make the point that when I was like a junior in high school, my 16-year-old driver's license says 5'5", 100 pounds. So
All
I was not
right.
tall my whole life. That summer between junior and senior year is when I grew from 5'5" to around 5'10", 5'11". So that was, thank God for small miracles. I mean, that was that was huge for me. But yeah, I mean, I grew up playing all sports. I grew up playing whatever sport was in season. In the fall it was soccer, in the winter it was basketball, spring it was softball, baseball. I was lucky enough to have my dad as my coach pretty much every season of every sport until I was, probably like in middle school. I know there are a lot of kids who are not as lucky to be able to have that. And I thank my lucky stars for that every day because both of my parents really kind of ingrained, and I'm one of four, so ingrained in all three of my siblings and I, just the idea of work ethic and what it means to work hard and what it means to maybe not be the best and try your hardest to get to that point. Touching back on what you mentioned earlier, like that's what I think sports is so good at, is being able to kind of find your strengths and your weaknesses, but not focus on just the strengths. I think in school, we often teach kids like, okay, you must be really good. You're really good at math. So let's do more math. You're really good at art. Let's do a lot of art. And it's like in sports, it's like, no, you're really bad at crossing over. Let's figure out how to cross the ball over. Like, let's
That's a
do
great
that.
point. Yeah.
Let's work on the stuff you're bad at and get better at that. While also kind of, honing in on the good stuff too and getting better at all that. And the repetition there is huge, obviously, but it's a little bit of everything. I think that's what's so exciting about it. I'm also a huge supporter of not specializing in one sport. I just think, playing all sports and I mean, geez, at least until high school. I mean,
Oh yeah, absolutely, exactly.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's kids who are like 8 who are like, no, I'm a soccer player only. And I'm like, what?
You're
Like,
8, dude.
I
What are you
know,
doing?
like
Like,
you're like, come on, you should just be like a kid, like just
yeah,
like
exactly
soccer.
right.
If you like soccer, you would like any other sport, I'm pretty sure. So I definitely try to encourage all of the students I teach to play everything. And parents, I don't know, they seem to be a little bit more excited about picking one sport early. I mean, I know there's a lot of whatever, there's a lot of driving, it costs a lot of money to play all these different things. I definitely know that. But if you have access to like a local, rec situation, it's like, just play whatever's there. I'm a huge supporter of that. So that's pretty
100%.
much how I was as a kid. And
I
I loved it.
totally agree with you. My dad was my coach maybe for like 2 years, and he was like, "All right, I'm over this. You
Yeah.
just go. You go play on someone else's team. I'm good now. I did
Right.
my time." And that was like the
Right.
first two
Right.
years. So it turns
Right.
out my dad wasn't a huge baseball fan, but he was just a coach just because they needed an extra guy essentially.
Right.
So
But I mean,
that
man, there's a
was
lot of parents not doing
yeah,
that,
exactly. That's
so
true.
that's huge.
I appreciate him for that.
Yeah.
It's funny looking back just because I know how much he actually hates baseball, which is ironic, but
Now
like
you know,
it's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, it's cool. I'm happy and I appreciate that he did that.
Right.
And you do make a great point. Again, just going back to, in school, you're really good at something, so you really try and hone in on it, and then you almost make the excuse with like, oh, I'm bad at science, so I'm just bad at it and I
Let me
don't
just not
care.
do that.
So
Yeah.
you lose the will and the energy, the motivation to get better at it, because you're like, oh no, I'm going to do art, or oh no, I'm going to do writing.
Right.
In sports, you're literally forced to, because if the other team knows something you're really bad at, they're just going to pick on you for it, right?
Right.
So
Right.
sports also not only helps you learn how to get better at your weaknesses, hone in on your strengths, as you said, but also learn how to just be better in general, I guess. Like,
Right.
because if you're not going to get better at your strength or your weaknesses, then you're pretty much just going to quit. And then, okay, then why did you even
Right.
come out? So I think that's always a really cool opportunity. And, shout out to your dad for doing so much. And I totally
Love
agree
him
as
for
well.
it.
All the sports. I mean, there's countless. I mean, look, Steve Nash, Odell Beckham Jr. Like, there are so many athletes.
Right.
Look at the court. Kyler Murray just went number one overall 2 years
Right.
ago. Two-sport athlete, got drafted in both.
No.
Like, it's a good reason. Like, you work on different muscles, you work on different attributes,
Absolutely.
skills
The
that
skill set is totally
they
different. Yeah.
but they contribute to each other. They make you better at different things, and so I
Absolutely.
completely agree there. There's
Yeah.
there's a way that we can kind of, I'll ride that train with you, whatever you need, Amanda. I'm on your
Right. I
side
love
there.
it.
Love it, love it, love it. So you were really good at basketball. That's got to be crazy too, going your junior year to senior year in high school, that many inches. Like, I was always short, but like, man, at
Yeah.
17, 18, a hormonal teenager, that must have been nuts. So like,
It was
kudos to you for
weird.
making out of that. Like, that's
Yeah,
incredible.
man. I think it was really just like it was like someone answered my prayers. It was like somebody answered my prayers that I had. I mean, I always had big feet, which I thought was hysterical, and everybody just always said, "You're gonna grow, you're gonna grow,
Yep.
you're gonna grow."
Uh-huh.
Finally, you're like 17. You're like, you guys are all lying. Like, you guys are all so full of it. I can't even. You guys just want to make me feel good as a middle schooler. And then it happened, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's happening! This is
That's
so
funny.
great! It was
I love
awesome."
it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, clearly it worked out to the
Yeah.
point where you eventually played basketball in college. So
Yep.
that's not messing around. What kind of was it a scholarship opportunity? Were you a walk on? What was that like?
Yeah, so I received a full ride to go to the University of Rhode Island. I played there for 4 years, and then I blew my knee out my senior year, and then I got a fifth year. Luckily, because I guess the game that I got injured in during my senior year was one game away from not allowing me to redshirt.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Well,
it was
luckily,
amazing.
yeah. I
Yeah,
guess
it was like
yeah, silver
silver
lining. Yep.
lining for sure. So I got another year, which was great. So I played a fifth year at UMass Lowell, up north of Boston. Yeah, so I spent 5 years on the East Coast, a little, Southern California girl spending her time out in the snow. It was a great experience, though. It was amazing. Loved it.
The Northeast, we got some good stuff up here. It's a little cold, especially right now. I
A
want to
little
say it's
bit.
like 20. No, it's 31 degrees out right now,
Oh,
as of recording. Which I'm not a super big fan of, but I can't leave
right.
anytime soon. Family, friends, the whole,
Of
wife wanting
course.
to be near her family.
Of
Roll
course.
my
Your whole
eyes.
life is there.
Yeah, I guess whatever. Zoom exists, right? We're talking right now. It's not that hard.
Exactly.
But
Right.
no, it's just one of those things where it's always I'm always interested in kind of hearing those stories, like why did you come to the East Coast? Amanda, I'm sure there were other schools anywhere else in the country you could have
I
went to. Like,
know.
why did you do it?
When I tell people, I roll my eyes as I say it, and they roll their eyes as I'm telling it. All I will say is, when I was 18, I just wanted there to be an ocean. I wanted to get out of California, and I just needed to be near the beach. And I had some offers from some schools in California, and I was just so anti-California at that point. I was like, no, I'm going to live here forever. I need to get out. My sister had already gone to play softball in Michigan, so I was like, I got to do something major too, something drastic. And so I was like, let me go to the East Coast. And then my stupid 18-year-old self didn't really realize I wasn't going to be able to, surf and sunbathe and boogie board all season and, do all that stuff. I got out there. I went on my recruiting visit. It was like September of my senior year. And they did the full scale stuff. They were like, all right, we'll take you to the beach. We'll take you to this
Yep.
like nice restaurant on the water and whatever. We're eating this nice seafood. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
This is
And
what
then I
it's
got up
like in
there.
December too? Like, no, of course not.
Of course not. I mean, everybody knows that except Amanda. And then I got out there, and it was like the fall was nice. I mean, it was a little bit brutal because we were in the middle of preseason, so everybody was miserable. But then, October, November comes, and I'm like, oh, whoa, this is like the real deal. This is, you got the wind chill coming in off the ocean. I was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not cut out for this. I am not cut out for this.
You braved it though, 5
I
years. I mean,
did.
that's pretty
I
impressive.
did.
hand up, I would have left. I would have
I
just been like, I'm sure, anyway,
yeah.
like you could have been on the East Coast, like the Carolinas, like maybe like
I
Georgia,
trust me.
Florida,
Don't
like
think
I
I
don't
haven't
know.
thought about that. Don't think I
Hey,
haven't thought about that too.
what
I don't
doesn't
know.
kill
I don't know what
you,
the hell I was
what
doing.
doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The fall in the Northeast is beautiful,
I
especially
was
when you
gonna
get
say,
up to Massachusetts, Rhode Island's awesome up there.
yes, I have an unbelievable love of the Northeast now because of it. So I don't take anything back.
It's cool. I
Yeah.
enjoy it here, but I would prefer, sunny and, like 80, 85 degrees
Right?
every
I
day.
mean, year round?
Personally,
Come on. Yeah.
just
Can't
personally, I don't know.
can't
Maybe
beat
that's
it.
just me.
Can't beat it.
So here's kind of a I'm gonna ask this question, but I'm not gonna get to the whole thing. I think you'll understand. What was the dating scene like as a college athlete?
As a college athlete, the dating scene was interesting because the pool that you were dealing with were the people who were your best friends. They were all the people who were around you all day, every day. They were the people who you sat in class with, even if you didn't play the same sport as them. They were the people who you navigated near in the dining hall. They were the people who you walked by, in the halls of the gym, in the weight room, in the training room, and study hall. They were the people who you knew they were your people, but you didn't exactly know why. And then you left school and you knew exactly why they were your people. They just seemed to be like you. And I mean,
Hmm.
of course, most of them, eventually became your friends, and you created those awesome relationships, and that was really cool. And so it became easier to date because you always ended up going to the same parties, and you always ended up wanting to hang with each other, and that kind of led to relationships, romantic or friendship or otherwise, being built, which was awesome. um, and it was just, at the time, I didn't realize how easy it was. I
Hmm.
thought it would always be this way. I
Yep.
thought, oh cool, I'll just always be around people like me, this is awesome. And then it quickly kind of shifted.
Yes, it quickly shifted. I just wanted to make one comment. You guys were all probably wearing the same sweatpants and sweatshirt, I'm
Exact
assuming
same
too,
sweatsuit.
because like I
And
went to Rutgers, so
yep,
there's a lot of athletes.
yep,
They all wore the exact same
yep,
sweatpants and exact same sweatshirt,
yes.
so you could point them out or
And it's like
immediately.
the one word that's different on the sweatshirt is like the sport.
Yep,
It's like
yep,
Rutgers
100. Yep,
football, Rutgers softball,
yep,
Rutgers tennis, whatever. It's like it's all
100%.
the same.
That's
Yeah.
too funny. And normally, yeah, as you said, you'd always be together. I'm not gonna say they traveled in a pack, but they definitely
Yeah.
traveled in, groups of 5 plus, it
Yes.
seemed like as well.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
and
Yep.
I love athletes, and that's why we can have some fun with this. I actually, okay, funny
Uh,
story. My cousin worked on the football team at Rutgers, so
okay.
he got some of the apparel that only was given to the football team, and I
Yep.
I happened to like break my backpack like 3 days into the school year. So he's been on campus already
Okay.
for a couple weeks, whatever. He's like, all right,
Right.
here, you can have this backpack. Gives it to me. A couple months go by, and some kid's like, yo, dude, are you on the football team? I was like, yeah, I'm actually the punter. And I had this kid going for like almost an entire semester. Might as well, like, if you
Oh
look at
my
me, I'm like
God.
5'7", 150 pounds, soaking wet. Like,
Right.
I had this
Right.
kid going for a while, so that was pretty funny. Still have the
I mean,
backpack.
sometimes all you need is the gear
That's
to
all you
play the
see.
part.
That's all you need to still have the
Yep.
backpack. So it is
I
rocking.
love
So
it.
so you leave basketball, and as you
Mhm.
as you even said up to the lead, you thought it would be similar, the dating scene. You thought you'd always be around athletes and people like
Right.
you and doing that whole thing. So you leave basketball. Hopefully you went back to Southern California, right?
I sure did.
Went right back to Southern
Sure
California.
did.
So you left school and now you became a PE teacher. This was like
Mhm.
2011-ish,
Yes,
give or take.
exactly. Yep.
Okay, cool. So I did my research. Look at me.
I like it.
Um, what were those first few months? I'm sure the first few months were really weird, but as you kind of got settled in, like again,
Mhm.
what was that like? And just like trying to just meet people in general, maybe not date anybody, but just like, hey, I'm trying to make friends again. Like, what's going
Right.
on?
It was an interesting dynamic because I had come home from being gone for so long. I also had come home from a situation where a lot of my high school friends were still kind of in the mix with all of our high school crew. And I was a little bit more on the outs because I didn't get as much time with them in the past 4 years as everybody else had. I was fully immersed in basketball season, and basketball season being a winter sport, I didn't get Thanksgiving break. I didn't get winter break. I got a short spring, and we always had to be on campus for summer vacation. So I was always in summer school. I just got very limited time back home. A lot of other people either got all those breaks or were in college in LA where we were from. So they just had a lot more time with each other. So for me, it was a weird dynamic of trying to come home and also like reestablish those friendships while also figuring out like, okay, am I like trying to date right now? It's still pretty new and fresh. Am I trying to make, relationships work that were going on the East Coast? Am I trying to kind of like make that work? Like, what do I really want? And I also will say, it wasn't even that I expected it to always be the same in terms of being around athletes all the time. I just don't even really think I ever thought about it. I think I think it just, I assumed it had always been that way in my life, and I just wasn't sure it would ever really change. The most interesting piece to the whole thing was that because I got thrown into being a teacher, and not that that's not what I wanted to do. I was so amazed that that opportunity came, and I was so happy, but I didn't really think far enough ahead to realize, oh, you're going to be around children all day, and the majority of your coworkers are going to be women, and it's just not going to be super conducive to meeting a bunch of new men and a bunch of new potential dates. And I never really thought about it that way. And I teach PE, so I'm the only woman in the athletic department. So there's 4 other guys that work with me, and they're all amazing, and they all happen to be married. And they all also played college sports, and it's like they're like my best friends because they are like me. So I'm like, okay, these are my people. This is great. But it just wasn't the easiest environment to be in, to meet a bunch of new people. And I never really saw it coming. I don't think I looked forward far enough to think, okay, what are the problems in my future going to be? But I when it happened, I was like, oh, this came out of nowhere. I can't believe it. Had I
Yeah.
thought a little bit about it, I probably could have guessed, but
Yeah, exactly. At least you could have been prepared for something.
exactly.
Exactly. You make a great point. Like, you've literally been around, as you referred to them a couple times, your people since you
Yeah.
were, I mean, I don't know, you were in middle school, like you were
Yeah.
not naturally
And you
surrounded by
just kind of
athletes.
gravitate to each other.
Exactly, right? Like, yeah, oh,
Right?
you
You want
played
to play the same
basketball.
games on
Yeah.
the yard. You
Yep.
at recess, you're doing the same stuff. It's kind of a weird way that happens, but it always does.
It just always does, and there's a reason for it, which
Yeah.
is kind of cool, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I do think it makes sense, as you said, like, once you realized, oh wait, I'm going to be a teacher, especially are you what grade did you start teaching?
So I teach pre-K through 8th grade. So it's
Okay,
kind of a
so
broad spectrum. And then I actually coached high school basketball at that same time after school for like
okay.
6 years. So it was kind of the full scope.
Okay, but
Yeah.
so at least during the day, you were essentially. I mean, maybe it's totally different in where you're from, but I mean, there were so few male teachers from
So
kindergarten to
few.
eighth grade. Once you got
So
into high
few.
school, that's where I started to see a lot more male teachers. Obviously,
Right.
college, I felt like I had more male teachers, but like
Yeah.
that first 8, 9 years, whatever,
Yeah.
pre-K, kindergarten to eighth grade, there's even more females
Yes,
teachers that
absolutely.
I noticed. So again, same point, like you probably didn't think about it, especially coming right out of
Yeah.
college where you probably had some male teachers or you knew of a bunch.
Right.
Just one of those things you don't think about. And then you get there and you're like, oh, wait, like now I'm here 8 hours a day, then plus hours because of
Right.
basketball. So you don't really have too much time to like go out and make friends or anything. So
Absolutely.
it's a huge undertaking. And again, appreciate you for shaping our youth. Again, let me say
Oh,
that.
thank you.
But
Thank
I
you.
could see how that gets difficult. Like
Yeah.
now you're in LA, right? So you're
I
in a
am.
place it's warm all the time. Like, what's summer? I don't know. Do you guys have summer? I don't think so. But like, think about it in
Right.
a teacher in the Northeast. Like, what do you think they're doing after just kind of jumping out of college,
Right.
getting into this situation? I mean, how much you even got a lucky situation, right?
I know, I will say that. And you know what? Like the greatest thing about being a teacher, although like you said, we should all be paid, exponentially more money,
Yes, way more.
but I mean, we get a lot of great things, we get a lot of great situations in our lives. We got, the summer vacation, not a lot of people get that. When I talk to friends of mine, I'm like, yeah, I mean, from mid-June to, beginning of September, no one really at my job wants to hear from me, and that, not a lot of people have that. So in terms of, being able to travel or being able to, whether it's worldwide travel or just going back to Boston to see friends, it's something that I don't think teachers take for granted. I think it's like really a very cool way to kind of, obviously we all definitely, my teachers, anyone who listens to this will laugh, who is a teacher, because the rest is most certainly needed. Every teacher I'm like, is just looking forward to the next day off, whether it's spring break or President's Day or like whatever it is. They're like, we're counting down, it's coming. But it's because it's a really exhausting job. It's really hard. And it's so incredibly gratifying, but that time off is really, really valuable. And that, I will say, was one of those things that allowed me to do things outside of just being a teacher, meet people far beyond, only in the athletic coaching or PE teaching space. It really allowed me to kind of get out of my box a little bit, which was something that I really didn't know I needed to do. Like I said, until I was in the middle of the problem, until I was
Yep.
in the middle of it, I didn't know how else to get out of it,
Absolutely. And that now, moving forward, like, you've been a teacher for however many years. When did the idea for this app, the playoff dating app, really, when did it strike you? And when did you, because everybody has the idea, right? And then most people
Right.
kind of sit on it for a little while. You're thinking
Right.
about what to do. When did you have the idea? And then when did you start to execute upon it?
So like I said, so this is my ninth year teaching. The first 6 years of my teaching career, I was coaching high school basketball after school, at a local high school, within 10 minutes of the other school. So it was great, but it just took up quite a lot of time. It was like nonstop, nights, weekends, everything. So after 6 years, I decided to take a break from high school coaching. And the moment I took a break from high school coaching, it was like, I just felt like the creativity and the ideas were just like flooding. I was like, whoa, I can offer more than just like teaching you how to shoot and dribble. Like I was like, whoa, there's a lot more in here that I really didn't even know existed. I kind of laugh at people because I spent like over a year like refinishing furniture and like I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was like, oh my God, there's more in here than I ever thought. So anyways, after probably a year of not coaching high school basketball, I think I really just hit this wall of like online dating myself. And I was like, oh my God, Amanda, you're swiping on Tinder or Bumble or Hinge or whatever these more generic apps are. And I found myself swiping yes to almost anybody who had any sort of action shot in their profile. I don't care if you were swinging a golf club, if you were, swinging a baseball bat, shooting a basketball. I immediately was more intrigued and wanted to know more about you.
Your
And
people.
my people. And I knew what it was, but I thought, okay, I'm just going to have to do it this way forever. I'm just going to have to, sift through these millions of people and try my best to find someone who I think might understand why I think the way I think, or, whatever. And then one day I was like, I wonder if you could just make an app for everybody who played at the college level or beyond. And I just thought, no, there's no way that could happen. And then I thought to myself, well, so I'm 33, anybody who's my age or probably, 33 to probably 37, probably 37 and below would have something on the internet about them if they played in college. Of course, there's circumstances where that's not the case, whether it's a junior college and they didn't have, athletic side or, whatever it is, there's circumstantial things. But for the most part, most of those people would have something about their athletic career on the internet. And I thought, wow, what if I just made everybody submit something about themselves, like some sort of athletic bio, a roster, or a team page, or a stat sheet, or whatever, with their name on it. And so I think it probably took me 2 to 4 weeks. It was during one of my spring breaks. I think it was in 2016 or 16 that I sat there for 2 weeks and thought, okay, I'm going to research this and I'm going to see if this exists somewhere, because if it exists, I want to be on it and I want to find it. And if it doesn't, I'm going to make it. I'm going to do it. And so I started reaching out to developers on LinkedIn and just kind of, putting some feelers out there and saying, oh, I have this idea. Could you create it? And if so, how much would it cost? And, whatever. And I would say there was probably a full 2-month period of like the idea entered my brain, and 2 months later I had signed a contract with a developer. And I was like, oh, whoa, we are rolling. Like
Let's get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it is happening. And I think for a lot of people, it was more for me. I would tell people, and telling people is like that accountability, right? Telling people that I'm going to do it was like, a lot of people would like nod their head and be like, oh, great, good for you. That's so awesome. Like, we'll never see it. Okay, good luck. And I think for me, it was like this personal battle of like, oh no, you told them. Like, you told them it's happening. Like, if this doesn't get launched and come out, like, your word means nothing. Like, you need to do this. And I think that was that kind of competitor inside me that was like, put your money where your mouth is now. Like, now's the time to do it. And so within 4 months of signing the contract, the app was launched in the App Store. And then then there's a whole nother set of problems, but then,
We'll
but
get
it's,
there. Yeah. We'll get
but
there. We'll get there.
it was a pretty exciting time. Just because I was able to prove to myself that I was able to do something so far outside of my comfort zone and so far outside of my skill set. I have no background in tech. I have no background in coding or anything like that. But I think my athletic career really helped me in terms of, I wasn't willing to take no for an answer. I wasn't going to stop when times got hard. And I was willing to reach outside of myself for the resources that I didn't have. I was going to go ask for help, and I was going to go, let my pride aside and say, listen, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? What is it going to take for you to help me? And And a lot of people are willing to help if you just ask them.
All you got to do is ask. I mean, there's the
Right.
tenacity, there's the resiliency. It's asking for help. That's like asking a coach, like, hey, like I'm really bad at this crossover. Can you
Right.
help me, coach? That kind of thing. So I
Absolutely.
think, it's funny how you create this dating app for athletes. And you use your athletic background to make sure that stuff gets
Right.
done, which is kind of
Right.
cool. As you said, your word, the accountability that you need to keep. You have accountability to your team.
Right.
Say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. Now you're just telling people on the street or your friends or your family or whatever,
Right.
and you're like, no, I'm gonna do it. This is how an
Just watch.
athlete's brain works. So
Right.
I think it
Right.
is really cool. I think it's a great idea, especially, I mean, you did the research.
Thank you.
There's enough people out there. I mean, how many colleges are there? How many college athletes are there that, I mean, just think of all
Yeah.
the people that played a sport, especially again, like you played this sport since you were, competitively, probably since you were like 10 or 11 or 12
Right.
years old, right? And then
Absolutely.
at 20, whatever, you just stop.
Right. Yeah.
You
And
just
it's
stop.
like
It's over. Like, it's
scary.
unless you go professional, like, yeah, I'm
Right.
sure you can go to a rec team, like adult, like league kind of stuff, which is
Right.
fun. I play beer league softball, hand up. It's
Right.
the best.
Right.
But like it just stops for most athletes. And again,
Yeah.
I wasn't highly competitive either, but
But still, it's like
exactly.
it's an identity crisis for sure. And I think there's a lot. I mean, I feel like that is a whole nother podcast. That conversation, it's a really kind of scary thing. And I think there's also a huge difference between you knowing your career is coming to an end and you not knowing.
Sure.
You're raised as an athlete to want to be the best and want to get to the highest level. And I spent some time in Germany after my 5th year, and I just wanted to remind myself that after my knee injury, I could kind of make it to the top of the mountain, and I wanted to play professionally. So I did everything I could. When people ask me, I kind of just brushed it aside because I only played half of a season. I just took over the contract of a girl who was injured. And so any athlete will kind of like, humbly like dumb that down. It's like, yeah, that's not that exciting. But at the end of the day, it was like, I wanted to be in charge of my own destiny. I wanted to be the one to say, no, it's over now. No, now I'm going to stop. Because there's a lot of people who, finish their college career and try their damnedest to go play almost anywhere else. And it might not work out. And that is not what they had in plan, and that
Absolutely.
is devastating.
I could literally only imagine because I've never
It's,
been in that
it's
situation. But I
hard.
mean, it's again, just like think of the time, the energy, the effort that
Right.
you've put into this sport your whole flipping life. And
Right.
then someone else says, no, sorry,
Yeah. No
Amanda, you're
thanks.
done.
Yeah. We
Like
don't need you.
I
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from. You at least got to go out on your own terms, which is,
Right.
not enough athletes, I think, get that opportunity to do
Yeah.
that. But it's great that
I
you had
agree.
the opportunity to do that. And yeah, I didn't even see that pop up anywhere on the internet.
Yeah.
So I guess you kind of keep that one very deep,
Yeah.
which
That's not
thank
my,
you for bringing it up. I
of
appreciate that.
course.
Honesty is important, but you're right. The identity crisis of then, falling losing your people, right? Like we keep
Yeah.
going back to that. Now you're not
Yeah.
surrounded by people that you're most comfortable around. And now you're in like a new situation. As you said, you still had friends from high school and you were kind of, hey, are we like, what are we doing? How are we like, what's going on?
Right. Right.
Which is more than a lot of people can ask for and more than a lot of people can say they have. But at the same time, it's still, you're still not surrounded by the people that you've been most comfortable with for however long, the last 4,
Right.
5, 6 years. And now you're just kind of thrown in the situations like, hey, you got a full-time job. So that means you're working over 40 hours a week. That means you have a commute. You were a
Right.
basketball coach as well. And it's kind of funny how you like, hey, like if you let your mind rest for like a couple minutes, like a lot of ideas start popping into it. It sounds
Man.
like you were just doing so much coaching and doing so much.
Yeah.
You got up, you went to school, you coached, you went to
Right.
sleep. Like you didn't
You
have
just
even
have
time
that
to
routine
think.
and you don't even know. Yeah. You don't even know you don't even know what's in there or what you're not tapping
Yep,
into.
exactly. So again, I think the idea is really cool.
Thank
And
you.
so I definitely like explain what the app is. Give me like the elevator pitch. Give me the one sheeter if you don't mind.
Yeah, so Playoff is a dating app for current and former college and professional athletes. Everybody on the app is verified to have competed anywhere beyond the high school level, whether it's junior college, college, professional, or the Olympic level. There's a 2-step verification process where you just submit anything on the internet about your athletic career, and then you also have to submit a selfie holding up a piece of paper with the word playoff on it. The reason for that is because right now it's not a major issue, but it's just kind of to prevent catfishing and someone creating a profile for some famous eligible bachelor or whatever, and just making sure that everybody is who they say they are. It's not 100% foolproof, but it is our best opportunity to make sure that the integrity of the app is kept together and that like I said, you can kind of trust that when you're going on there and you're flipping through people and this person says they played tennis at Duke, you can pretty much be certain that this person played tennis at Duke. It's again, it's not foolproof, but it's really what I want to make sure. I hesitated because I know why I want the app out there and why I think it'll be successful, but the exclusivity piece of it was hard for me at the beginning. And I also realized very quickly that is why many athletes want to be on it.
Yep.
I know that is exactly why they want to be on it. They've told me that's why. And they'll say, oh, I don't do dating apps, but I'll definitely do this one because it's for me. And I know that people on there will be like me. And I think that's exciting to them. So the two-step verification process has really been pretty cool for us. And I think it gives us kind of like that validity and just verifies everything that we're doing and lets me know that we're going in the right direction.
Yes, I think a two-step verification process for just about everything now, even though when I forget that I set it up, I'm annoyed when I have to go through it. Like if
Right.
it's like a certain account, it's like, oh man, okay, yes,
Yeah.
send the stupid message to my
Yes.
phone and then I'll type in the numbers. But like it makes sense, especially on something like this. I was in college when Tinder came out. Now I had a girlfriend at the time, so I did not partake, but all my roommates did. So,
Yeah.
Kind of saw what was going on and it was just like, it was
Totally.
the Wild West,
It's
man.
like a
Like
free
it
for
was
all.
nuts. Like,
It is a free for all.
especially that first like 6 months it was out, everything was crazy. The world was
Right.
like upside down. It was
For
insane. And,
sure.
good for everybody that enjoyed it. That's awesome. I did not, but
Yes.
I saw it
But
from.
also for as many people as enjoyed it, there are horror
Yes.
stories,
And that's exactly what I was going to say. There's,
Yeah.
for every one that loved it, there was another probably 5 that said this is the worst
Yes.
place on planet Earth. So,
Exactly.
it's awesome that you go about it that way. And I think, again, like having it athlete specific and verifying, it's not just like, oh yeah, like I play rec basketball in the
Right.
afternoons. Like, yeah,
Right.
that's great, man. Like, good for you. But like, we're looking
Yeah.
like there's a different mindset than some dude that goes to the gym or some girl that goes to the gym and works out and plays basketball there to somebody that played at a competitive level
Right.
through college or in college. Is like that is a whole nother level, and I think it's a great way to
Right.
kind of differentiate.
Yeah, and I think, when I was doing my research and trying to figure out if this existed anywhere, what I came across were multiple sites and, dating platforms that were for fitness loving people. And I thought, okay, these are great, but these are really pretty far from what I'm looking at, what I'm looking to do. There was one that was for people who like to do CrossFit. There was one for people who like to just lift weights. There was one that was just literally fitness loving people who like to go on hikes and do things like that. And I thought to myself, they don't have the screw loose that we have.
I was gonna say they don't have like the mental strength, or like they don't have the same mentality. But yeah,
Right.
screw loose is a great way to put it,
They
Amanda. I mean,
don't.
there's something wrong with somebody that wants to put their body through that day
I
in,
mean,
day out for
right?
that many years. Let's be
Exactly.
honest.
Just for the sake of winning. Just for the sake of winning. And, or for the trophy at the end or whatever the hell you're fighting for. But, I laugh about it, but I'm like, no, there is something there that I think and now listen, this is a whole nother conversation, whether you're born with it, whether it's instilled in you when you're little, whatever the heck it is, it's there and it's like undeniable, and I think speaking to any athlete about it, it's kind of this like funny unspoken thing that we just kind of get each other. I know you're nuts about whatever you're doing and I'm nuts about whatever I'm doing. So there's like a mutual respect there,
Let's
which is
be
awesome.
nuts together.
Exactly.
And I think the other thing is like even after you leave your sport, it's not something that goes away. Now it might like
Right.
temper down a little bit. Obviously you also get older and the
Of
experience and
course.
everything and kind of everything maybe calms down a bit, but it's still there. You still know it's there. They still know it's there. You kind of still feel it too, which I think is
Right.
really important.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought, okay, I'm getting my competitive juices flowing by coaching, and I'm getting all this passion out, because I'm not playing anymore. So I'm out here, screaming at these kids to set the screen and to do whatever I'm yelling. And my parents will have come and watch me coach like 8 and 9-year-olds, and they're like, "Oh my god, like what is?" And I'm like, "We won though, it's great." And they're like,
Cover
"Okay,
up their faces in
yeah,
the crowds. Like, wait,
exactly."
who's that coach? I don't
Yeah,
know who
who's
she
that
is.
weirdo?
What's
Yeah.
going
And
on?
I kind of laugh, but the moment right now I still coach lower school and middle school, but the moment I stopped coaching the high school team and I started playoff, I thought, oh, it's not just sports. I'm a psychopath about this app. Like I'm a nutcase. And I realized, oh, this has nothing to do with like just being in an athletic arena. Like I don't really think I knew that was going to happen. And I'm like, I just really surprised myself with just, and the work ethic I always knew was there, but just kind of the nonstop like fire underneath me to like make sure this reaches its full potential. Like whatever I need to do, I will do,
I love it.
you
I love it.
know?
And yeah, I mean, it's nutcase, screw loose. Your words,
Yeah,
not mine. Your words, not mine. So
exactly.
don't hold them against me.
Right.
But so like, what have you been doing to make sure that it reaches its full potential? Like, I want to understand the vision in a little bit, but like, what are you doing
Yeah.
now to make sure? I mean, you're coming to places like this. You're sending me a message on LinkedIn saying,
Right.
Olympic athletes. Do you want to tell them about it so they can use it in the Olympic Village? Yeah, sure. I'll let them know. Don't worry. I can't
Yeah.
guarantee they use it, but I'll let them know. So like, what are you doing right now from a marketing perspective, from a PR perspective, from just a grassroots perspective like this, to just get the word out about this really awesome project you're working on?
Yeah, I'll say from the grassroots perspective, it is like literally LinkedIn message after LinkedIn message. I am out there, every single day. Any break I have at work, I'm like just trying my best to like get it in the hands of the right people. I have about 10 student athlete interns this semester who are helping out with social media and content creation and, TikTok videos and Instagram takeovers and all the kind of engagement stuff that I tend to be terrible at. It's not for everybody, and I've realized very quickly that it's not for me.
Be
Um,
you, do you. That's all
and
you need to do. You do you.
I realized very quickly that this is not my jam.
You mean TikTok isn't like something teaching little kids doesn't
Man,
make you good at TikTok? That's so weird.
not even close. But I will tell you, I have almost every dance memorized because they don't stop doing it in
Oh
school.
gosh, yeah, I can see that.
It's horrifying. So yeah, I've got the interns going. I also have my first event coming up, which I'm super excited about. It's going to be a playoff networking happy hour event at the Women's Final Four in New Orleans. So that'll
Whoa.
be,
All
yeah,
right. There
I'm
we go.
super
That's a
pumped
that's a
about
big
that.
one. That's not
Yeah,
even you're not
yeah.
messing around. You're shooting for the big guns now. I love
Right.
it.
And I just kind of figured, women's basketball is kind of my arena. It's kind of where I feel the most comfortable. I know several women's college coaches, so I feel like, all right, I literally thought to myself, all right, I can at least get 20 people in the door. Like at least I can get people, I can force people to come because they know me. So I got like, a great venue on a rooftop of this hotel. It's going to be awesome.
I don't think you
So
need to force anybody to go there. Like I think
yeah,
that's
like,
what you said. New
right.
Orleans, you said rooftop
Yes.
and hotel. I mean, just
It's
say
gonna be
alcohol,
great.
and I
Oh,
promise you,
it's
people
there.
will
It's
show up.
there. Yes. So that'll be really fun. That's going to be in April. I also have another intern working with me who is going to be based out in Boston, and she's going to help us put together an athlete mixer out in Boston. We're looking at venues right now, thinking like breweries or some sort of really cool outdoor situation for like May or June, where we can. I think the idea of the events is really what's the most exciting to me. Less about, I mean, obviously about getting the app in the hands of the right people and getting the word out there, but really just about the physical act of connecting people. I really, really am passionate about getting all these people in the same room and letting you guys know, hey, like maybe you sit at your desk all day and maybe you are on Instagram all day and you're only kind of engaging with your personal network. But outside of that, outside of the walls of your job and outside of, the barriers that your phone has or, the Instagram followers you have, there are people just like you very close by. And now we're all going to get together in this space and you guys are going to meet each other. And I think that is so powerful. And to be honest, that is a microcosm of what's going on in the Olympic Village. Like that is what's happening. Are they, hooking up and doing all those things also? Yeah, of course. But like to know that they're literally just seeing each other and having this immediate respect for one another and for what the other one has done in their life, that is really what it is on a different level, so being able to bring people together, I think in the form of events is really what's the most exciting to me. We have, different, we have a new version of the app actually that's going to be released in the next month or so. And it's like full redesign aesthetically, functionality. It's all going to be a million times better. And that's really in preparation for the Olympics. And we have like a running email list with Olympian contacts on it. And so once that's released, there'll be a huge push for getting Olympians on it beforehand. The goal is to either get as many Olympians on there beforehand as possible, or just so that in Tokyo, maybe that Olympian is not on the app, but maybe being in Tokyo is not the first time they've ever heard of the app.
Yep, exactly.
That's really the goal. Some marketing guy told me the other day, listen, I love that Tokyo's your World Series and that's amazing, but like you need to have like 10 or 15 other World Series. Like you need to, and he's like, I'm not saying it's not going to work out. I'm just saying you need to be spreading your wings everywhere. Like this has got to go everywhere you can possibly get it. So that's why I'm really excited about the Final Four event. I think it's just kind of the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we can really do. And being able to get bigger businesses to sponsor the events and being
Mhm.
able, if it doesn't really break the bank, God, I would do one once a week.
Yeah,
It'd be amazing.
absolutely. Yeah, right. I mean,
So
there
I
there's
think
a
that's the
there are
push.
sponsors out there that want to
Yeah.
get in front of that specific demographic, right? Like there
Right.
are brands that are like, "Wait, you mean we can get in front of X number of former or current athletes right now?"
Right.
Like, absolutely. I mean,
Right.
maybe not even the Nikes or the Adidases or the Under Armours of the
Yeah.
world, but there's still brands that's their target market, right? Like so,
Right.
maybe like a Gymshark or something. I don't know, just throwing
Right.
stuff out
Or
there, but
even more local brands,
yeah, that exactly. Yeah, a gym, a
Totally.
local gym. Look at that. Hey,
Right.
you guys need a place
Right.
to hang out. Here's a
Right.
lifetime. Why don't you come here? So,
Right.
no, I think it's a great idea. So, one question I have for you, especially with so the market that you're going after, it with especially as you were talking about before, with college athletes, they're kind of with each other all the time. So they don't. I mean, you tell me, but it doesn't sound like they need this app in college.
Exactly.
It sounds like it's an after college thing, and after college, everyone kind of disperses back across the country to where they're from.
Yes.
So are you trying to do like a lot of push like now just to get them familiar with the app and like hope that once they're out of college back and they start normal life that they remember like how are you
Right.
doing that aspect of it? Because like they're in chunks right now and they're in clusters right now, but then they're going to spread back out, and
Right.
then like I'd be afraid that they would then forget like, oh shoot, like there's this really cool app, maybe we can
Right.
find other people on it too.
So the big push for me, so what I realized very quickly was the current college athletes are the people who are the easiest to find
Oh,
on
exactly. Yeah.
on social media. It's like now that I'm graduated and I'm, 10 years out of playing college basketball, there's nothing about like Rhode Island basketball number 21 in my bio. Like that doesn't exist anymore. So, but for every current athlete, that is the first thing that's in their bio. And that is what they're the most proud of. And I totally understand that. And I would have been too. So what I realized is those are the people who are easiest to find, easiest to get to and to communicate with. But I also realized that those are the people who move the needle in terms of popularity. Like they decide that Snapchat doesn't really matter anymore and we're all about TikTok. So it's like they kind of push society one way or another, athletes in general, but college athletes really have a lot of say. And just so like I just pretty unbelievable to me seeing how many followers some of these college athletes have and just kind of seeing how much influence they truly have. Ironically, not being able to use any of that for any monetary value, but
Well,
that's
that's another total
that's
different
another podcast.
conversation,
That is
but
another conversation. But it's really interesting because they really drive the market in so many ways that those are the people who I really wanted to get it in the hands of. I was worried that the feedback would be like, "Hey, thanks so much, but we don't need it. Like, I already got it. I already got my dates. I got no problem finding a date." But luckily, the feedback has been, "Wow, this is awesome. I don't use any dating apps, but I will absolutely use this because it's for us. This is awesome." Also, the idea of being able to meet athletes not on your campus but local, I think is really cool. But to answer your question, the target demographic in the long run is absolutely people like me, people who are retired and don't have any athletes around them. The hardest part is that they don't have anything specifically about them that you can find
yeah.
online.
Yep,
So
yep,
it's
yep.
like I can't say all athletes are Jewish. All athletes are between this height and this height. All athletes are in this geographical area. All athletes are this economic background or this cultural background. It's just so kind of off the wall that I think finding the current college athletes and obviously also hoping that one day they'll remember it or one day it'll go viral and they'll all love to use it for years to come. The current college athletes are really the ones who I think we're kind of hanging our hat on right now. LinkedIn for me has been cool because I can find a lot of former athletes on
Yep.
LinkedIn.
Mhm.
But again, that is like, I mean, it's so grassroots that it's like one message here and there. It's not really killing anybody with that.
Yes, yeah, and it's still, hey, you gotta get it out there in any
Yeah,
way, shape, or form, however
100%.
you can do it. Have you done any? Well, first, let's talk about what you just spoke about. I mean, it totally makes sense. Like, if that's the feedback you're getting, that's
Hmm.
still awesome. Like, obviously, places like Penn State, it's just a single town in the middle of flipping nowhere.
Right,
So
right,
they are all those athletes are together. They're gonna run into each other, but there's still the opportunity that someone on the women's basketball team might not run into someone on the men's soccer team because I'm pretty sure those are different schedules, if I'm not mistaken. But like, so there's still some opportunity to overlap
right.
with sports, maybe someone you don't run into that often, especially at colleges that big. how many athletes are there? I mean, there's 100 plus people on the football
Right.
team, and it has to be
Exactly.
equal. Title IX
There's
makes
at least
everything
five or six
equal at that
hundred,
point.
right? At least five or six
So
hundred athletes there
even if
easily.
you are with the same people every day, you're not seeing all 500. So there's still absolutely the
Exactly.
opportunity to still meet new people, even out the campuses. But then there's other places that I've been to. Just for example, Burlington, Vermont. Been there a couple times. You're Northeast, so you've probably, hopefully,
Right.
you've been there because that place is
I
insane.
have.
But
It's
um,
amazing.
I think there's like 5 or 6 different colleges in the town of Burlington itself. And now a lot of those people do mix and match and they do
Right.
meet each other, but the athletes are so confined to their spaces there.
Right.
That's actually probably the perfect place for it
Right.
because they then now get to meet all these other athletes who are at separate gyms doing separate things at all times, but now they
Right.
didn't even know it's a 10-minute walk down the road because we live on the same street kind of thing. So it
Exactly.
does make sense. And yeah, hopefully then it starts to grow and they tell their older brothers and sisters about it. Maybe they
Right.
tell their
Right.
other teammates about it, their old coach, this, that, or the other thing. And you never really know what's going to happen. So you never know what one person's going to put over the edge.
Exactly. I mean, and that's why I really realize how much value there is in those one-off, LinkedIn messages. I realize like I'll send whatever 50 to 100 a day and get a bunch of responses and realize like, wow, that one response was amazing. Like that did so much for playoff in terms of whether it's like me, sitting here talking to you, or if it's somebody saying, oh yeah, I actually have I was talking to somebody who was like the women of Harvard athletics has like their own database where it's like all the women who played sports at Harvard are part of some like club they have.
Whoa.
And the woman was, and so I found the woman and I like reached out to them and she's like, oh, that's amazing. We think it's such a great idea. We're going to have a meeting on whatever. I think it's like this coming Sunday. And she goes, we'll get back to you because we'd love to shoot it out to everybody. And I'm like, wait, what is everybody? Like, oh my God, you mean like every woman who's ever played sports at Harvard? Like, yes, please. Like, how do I, yeah. And I've thought a lot about alumni associations and trying to kind of reach athletes that way. I also have thought a lot about like, are schools really, and our institutions really gonna, hitch their wagon to a dating app? So it's tough. And it's like, how much time do I really want to spend on potentially hearing no's as opposed to just like getting it into the hands of the athletes immediately? But, being able to go through an institution and get some mass email sent out to like, and really it's funny because like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, do you want like a lot of email correspondence? Do you want the email list or whatever? I'm like, honestly, no, I just need you to tell them I need you to tell them one time about the app and that's it. I had a guy who got access for me to a list of all the college coaches' email addresses in America. So it
Let's
was like
go.
junior college through division 1, 2, 3, NAI, everything. And I was like, oh my God, this is like my holy grail. Like, what do I need to do to get, and he was like, yeah, I'll send an email out for you. I had to pay him. And I was like, that night, it was like overnight and the signups spiked like crazy. It was like unbelievable. And I thought, even if there's a few assistant coaches or grad assistants who just graduated, who literally just shoot that link to their team or what, like, it's so simple that like, you just really never know what that word of mouth could do.
Exactly. You really don't. And I think that's awesome. Shout out to those
Yeah.
people. I mean, how
Right.
that guy found every single
Man.
college coach,
And
that's
he's got like athletic administrators and whatever. I was like, I don't need them. I just
yeah,
need the
they
coaches.
probably don't want to talk
They don't
about
want to hear.
that.
Yeah,
But you
exactly.
brought up alumni association. I think that's great. And
Yeah.
maybe you don't reach out and say, hey, like, can you send this out? But maybe you have an event, or maybe you sponsor the alumni
Yes,
association or something like
exactly.
that, or you
Yeah.
you do one of those like after party events, so you find out where it is, and then you like go to the bar next door and be like, hey guys,
Right.
everyone's invited
Right.
over here.
Right. Right.
So that's always an opportunity too. So I think it's
I love it.
awesome. Again, Amanda, I love what you're doing. I think it's fantastic.
Thank
Unfortunately,
you.
I'm getting married. Fortunately, I'm getting
I
married
was gonna
soon. So
say,
nothing to worry about there.
that's amazing.
But I'm also wasn't an athlete, so I can't say much. But
So
so
amazing.
promotion's been great. Feedback sounds like it's been pretty darn good. What are some of the successes that you can point to, especially only being in the for two and change? This sounds like years at this
Right.
point. What are some of the successes you can point to remind yourself, I'm doing the right thing. I should keep going. Entrepreneurship sucks, but one day it's gonna be
Right.
totally worth it.
One day it's gonna be worth it. I will say the small successes are literally just the positive responses to any message I send, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, email, whatever. Someone just, I mean, even, I mean, the amount of messages I've gotten, even like your response, oh, I'm married or I'm engaged or whatever, but I love your idea. Or someone saying, oh, I'm actually engaged to a former athlete also, by the way, so your idea is great, or, whatever. And it's just like support in that sense that's like, hey, I can't directly help you because I'm not going to download the app, but I will do whatever I can to help you. I will send this out to my former teammates or, whatever. And, people saying, oh, I love a female athlete entrepreneur. Oh, I love an athlete. I got to help any athlete. It's like hearing people who respond in a way that's like, oh, well, you're part of my family. So I got to help you. So thanks
Yeah,
for
your
reaching,
people.
exactly.
We
And it's
keep
like,
coming back to it. Your
right.
people.
Exactly. And it's so encouraging, especially when it's someone you don't know. I mean, I kind of joke around with my friends and family and I say, okay, yeah, you guys are supposed to like my post. You guys are supposed to support me. And you guys are supposed to say I'm going to be, the app's going to be amazing. And it's going to go viral one day and everyone's going to love it. But like you're supposed to do that. So to hear people, respond in a way that's like, oh, well, the Olympic Village would be huge. Once it gets there, it's going to be amazing. And really feel the emotion in their voice or in their text message even. I'm like, oh, wow, you really do believe in this. Like, this is really going to do it. So success stories on a much smaller scale, I would say, are like that. Success stories on the app, there have been a few. And to see that people are even remotely willing to tag us in like a picture of them and a significant other on Instagram. God knows if I met
Let's
somebody on
go.
Tinder, I was not tagging Tinder,
No, not at all.
And like they're tagging playoff and like thanking playoff. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. One of my favorite ones is a couple that started in the first month of the app ever existing, which basically means every connection that was made was long distance because there were not nearly enough people in any town to actually give somebody a positive user experience. So this girl met, she was a soccer player, he was a football player. I think one was in Texas, one was in Arizona, one moved from Arizona to New York, and like they've still stayed together. Long story short, they've been together for like almost 2 years now. Or yeah, because the app has been out for 2 years, so it's been 2 years. I sent them a message and I was like, I'm totally crashing the wedding, so let me know when that's happening because I will be thrilled to be there. But it's like kind of like things like that where honestly, I worry less about the numbers and about the oh, how many people have exchanged phone numbers and gotten off the app and how many people are doing this or that. And I'm like, you know what? These people are happy. Like this couple is happy. And whatever I created brought them together. What a miracle is that? Like, I just think that's the coolest thing ever. And hopefully on a grander scale, that's going to be something I can do with the events too, because that's really what I hope for.
I think that is awesome. I mean, yeah, when you think about it like that, like you literally are one of the biggest, if not like the sole reason these two people even
I
know
mean, how
who each
cool
other
is
are.
that?
Like that is awesome.
Exactly.
That is
I
awesome.
think
Their
it's
lives
the
are
coolest
completely
thing.
changed for the way better just because you had this cool
Right.
idea. You're like, athletes are, they kind of like each other because we all have
Right.
screws loose. Like, why not see how we can
Right.
put more of them together? So I think
Yeah.
that's awesome. I also think that's a great piece of content too. If you haven't already asked them to sit down in front of like a computer screen and just tell
Right.
the story, get
Right.
that out there a little bit. I think that would be awesome.
That would
That's
be really
we could
cool.
talk about that offline.
Yeah, totally.
But what's next? I know you said you have a redesign coming. You have a lot of aesthetics, but also some new features. Like what are some what can you point to that either already exists or what can you point to? What's your North Star that you're trying to travel to where you could say, I think this is a success?
I think until the Olympics is gone and done with, that will always be in front of me. I think that is really cool because it feels far enough away, but close enough that makes it attainable, but far enough away to where I can actually really start to make a plan for it, which is really exciting. I also think that, creating these events and I've realized I have so many more ideas, like I said earlier, that I am really aware of. I would love to be speaking at colleges to student athletes about not knowing what the hell you're going to do in your life and then finding something and rolling with it. I talk about people talk to me about being an entrepreneur and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so hard and this and that. And I'm like, first of all, it's so hard. It's so up and down. It's a roller coaster, all those things. But I really also think about it in the sense that like, I just really wanted to help bring people together. I don't really look at it from a standpoint of like, the hardest thing for me is going to be getting investors because I don't look at this from a standpoint of like, how can I make money? I look at this from a standpoint of like, oh my God, there's 100 million people on the app and they're all athletes. How cool is that? I'm not like, oh my God, how much money can I make? It's like, oh my God, they're going to meet people. They're going to be so happy. They could come to our events and I think everybody else who comes at it from an investor standpoint is going to be like, how much do I need to give you? And when can I make that back? And when can I make more back? And I think that part for me, it feels the most overwhelming because it feels the most outside of my comfort zone and the farthest from kind of like the narrative and the message that I want. But you know what? There's companies forming every single day and thriving every single day with a very strong narrative and with a very genuine, organic message that have investors and are making a lot of money and still doing amazing. So it's not something that can't be done. I will say it's just something that kind of scares me a little bit. And I really just think if it's not scaring you, then the dream is not big enough. So,
Exactly.
you know,
100%.
because man, I think about that and I'm like, oh my God, how is that going to happen one day? But I thought about that the first day I thought of the idea for the app. I'm like, how is that going to happen? And here we are, creating like the second redesign. So it's, it's every next step in front of me is a step that I've never taken before and is a problem or a challenge that I'm facing that I've never faced before. Which it really, as you're rolling, it just builds the confidence so quickly, it's just like, it's such a cool thing to see. But again, like like sports being the microcosm for life, it's like you get knocked down the next second and you're like, oh, turns out I'm not that great. Turns
Uh-oh.
out, whatever. So
But
it's
you do
really
what you got to do.
valuable.
I love it. Again, I think it's awesome. And I understand it, especially where you're coming from with it, and the investor side, not looking at it. There's people you can kind of pay to bring in to like create that stuff for you to be
And
telling like
to be that business person.
exactly like you
Yeah,
paid someone to create the app. You had the idea for the app. You can
totally.
create someone to make it. I'm not saying cook the books, of course. No one would
No,
ever
no, no,
say
I
that.
know.
But like
Ever.
presenting it in a way that
Right.
like, hey,
That's desirable.
this is desirable for you. This is how you will do all that fancy
Of
math that
course.
personally I can't do and you can't do either.
Right.
And as you were saying, being an entrepreneur, it's so hard. I love it. But
Right.
it's also really hard. I'm pretty sure like 2 days ago, I was like swore it off, totally gonna quit. And then
Right.
today was the best. Today was
That
awesome.
was like that was
I'm
like 3 hours ago for me.
yeah, right. Like I'm pretty sure like I'm like really close to closing a couple deals now. Like that's awesome. But like totally two
Great.
days ago, I was like, nah, maybe this just
Right.
isn't for me. Like I've given it
Exactly.
the old college try, and today right back on the horse. Can't wait to do it again tomorrow. So it's funny how that
Right.
works, but totally agree with you there. And the one thing I can
I
say
know.
that I think will make it super desirable is you have a story and you have a really, really good story.
Right.
And everybody likes
Oh,
a good
thanks.
story, right? Like everybody
Right.
you can get that emotional attachment. Everyone played, like, name 10 people off the top of your head that never played any kind of sport ever.
Right. And
It's
have
such
no
a hard
idea
thing.
how to, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like it's such a hard thing to do to find that many people that have just never played sports. And most people, I would say, I don't know the number, like I feel like everyone had some sort of athletic career up until like sixth, seventh, eighth grade. So you kind
Right.
of started to feel that athletic, like those competitive juices a little bit, that kind of thing. So I think, the stories there, people can latch onto it. And I do think, again, if you just kind of present it in the right way for investors, because again, there's people that you can bring in to present it because they know what investors are looking for. You
Right.
can present it in the right way, and then those people can then you can
Right.
knock it out of the park because all you have to do is tell the story that you just you just told for the
Right.
last hour. And I think it's a great
Right.
one.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to people about, they're like, oh yeah, you got to get ready to like give pitches and you got to get your deck together and whatever. And I'm like, listen, I will tell anybody in any boardroom until I'm blue in the face why this is going to be a success. What I might not be able to tell you is when that money's coming and how it's coming and how much, certain things are going to cost and how much we're going to charge people and whatever. But I will gladly tell you why people will want to do this. And I will, because I am the target demographic. It is for me and I know why it's going to work, and so I have the utmost confidence in that. Like you said, I just need that second piece where it's like, okay, now together we can kind of convince you, easily.
And I think again, that couple that met in that first like week or month I think that's another great story. Again,
Right.
call them up, get them on the phone, record
Yeah.
them talking about it because I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. But the last question I have for you, Amanda, and I hope this isn't too personal, but I feel like I have to ask it. Have
Okay.
you met anybody on the app yet?
So I have not met anybody on the app yet. I also kind of laugh with friends of mine because I am the person who's verifying everybody. so, everyone's
You
like,
get
oh, that's
first
not
shot,
fair. You
right?
get like first
Yeah,
dibs.
you get first dibs.
And so I'm like, it's pretty funny because not only am I verifying them, I also like have access to like your email address and like I could like actually reach you, which is
Ooh, a
hysterical.
little creepy though. A little
It's super
creepy.
creepy.
Hey, this is Amanda. I actually created the app. I think you're kind of cute. What's up? How you
Exactly.
doing?
So I am way too shy and not as much of a weirdo to ever do that. So
I hope
I,
so. I really hope so.
I would never. I've not met anybody yet. I have been swiping since the very beginning. I also kind of think like I feel like I will either meet somebody on the app or meet somebody in this process. I've realized like because I've gotten so far outside of my comfort zone that I am no longer, I mean, I'm literally on the phone with you on a weeknight, and we met whatever it is, like a month ago, and just kind of, got on the phone and tried to figure this out and whatever. And it's like relationships like that build, like, I feel like those are the relationships that I form that are going to be the most valuable,
100%.
and it's like, it could be anything, like you have somebody who, that you want to introduce me to, or, it's like, I've realized that maybe it's not through the app, maybe it's because of the app, and I don't know if that's true, but it's what I'm telling myself. It's what I'm assuring myself. But either way, I think Playoff is going to be responsible for, let's say, my happiness one day.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Awesome.
We're going with it.
Amanda, this was great. I don't have anything else. I asked all my questions, and you did an
Yay.
incredible job at answering them.
Oh, great.
Amanda McGrew, the founder of the Playoff Dating app. I will make sure everything, all the socials, yours, the apps, any link to the app so that people can download directly, all that will be in the show notes. So anybody listening, any athletes out there that just maybe want to check it out, see what
There you
that
go.
two-step verification process is like,
Yep.
check it out. So thank you so much, Amanda. I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you.